In the momentous year of 2007, Birmingham rejoined the Speedway family, and I have seen some great Speedway in that time. I've also seen some dross every single year, usually since October at the business end of the season. And once again, I was watching a match, the most important match of the season, as Bellevue visited Leicester for the second leg of the misnamed Grand Final. And as I watched it, I couldn't help but think, this is poor watching for what is supposed to be British League Speedway's big night out, the pinnacle of a long, hard season. If we are to continue with this phenomenon of playoffs, then surely something needs to change. Otherwise, we should just be looking at league leaders equals league winners. Only in Speedway. Oh, good evening, gentlemen. Welcome, everybody, to the last show of 2024, unless we do a Christmas special, which we probably will. Did you see the match? Bellevue, Leicester at Leicester?
I saw some of it. The second half of it, I was looking at my eyelids, I think. So
yeah.
It was dross, wasn't it? Leicester always it was always going to be a tall order for Leicester to pull that back, I think. But I just felt right from the early onset they'd thrown in the towel. And no criticism of Bellevue. They did a professional job. They were the better team over the two legs. In fact, I think they were the best team over the course of the whole of the playoffs. Really, not necessarily the best team of the season. But they did a job. But certainly, if you'd have been a casual viewer watching that and you're thinking, is this supposed to be the biggest night of the season in British Speedway? And this is being served up. It was.
I mean, we should say congratulations to Bellevue.
Yeah,
absolutely, because they did. They were the better side over the two legs, no question about that. It's just a shame that there wasn't racing. It wasn't. The biggest criticism that people, even these days, put in front of Speedway is that it's first out the gate wins.
Yeah.
Well, it was that night.
In some ways, it would have been better if the second leg had been at Bellevue, because the first leg was a great atmosphere. There's always a great atmosphere at Bellevue, and of course the dynamics of the track and everything. It's it makes for more of a spectacle, I think. No disrespect to Leicester, but I've said many times, I think they could have done. Considering the space that they've got at Leicester, they could have done they could have built something really, really special there, and I think there's a lot of space at Leicester that's been wasted a little bit. I know they've worked to try and
they've worked hard.
They have worked to try and improve the track, but
it is better, I think. And they didn't look at it on that night, but then you've got to take into account the weather and how much weather they had on that track.
Yeah,
it would not have helped that track at all.
No,
and it was a miracle that they got it on. Unfortunately, should they have got it on? I mean, I just feel something's got to change. If you're going to have playoffs, then the playoffs should be on tracks that make the word grand final seem apt and relevant. And this just wasn't. I'm not necessarily blaming the Leicester track as such. I think the weather played a massive part in it. It played a massive part at Bellevue as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first meeting wasn't vintage Bellevue, I don't think, was it?
No.
But I'll just think over the two legs, Bellevue wanted it more, I thought. Leicester had such a good run of form towards the end of the season, but they were very fortunate, I thought, to get past a decimated Ipswich team in the semi-final, and really they just ran into a Bellevue team that had peaked at exactly the right time.
Yeah, they did a pull, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is something else we'll talk about in a little while. Before we go any further down this road, I'd just like to put my hand up and say,
2 weeks ago,
two weeks ago, we forgot to do something that we really, really should have, and that's just remember that we've lost a member of the Speedway family just recently in Peter Mason. Without Peter Mason and David Mason, Birmingham Speedway wouldn't be in existence now, because they took it over for those 2 years. And COVID got in their way a little bit, and all sorts of things like track break-ins. So it wasn't the most successful period of Birmingham's, but we wouldn't exist without them. And I thought we forgot to acknowledge that, and for that we're truly sorry. But our thoughts have been with Peter and with David and their family, and I don't think I need to say anymore.
But a lot of people I know have said that who met Peter said he was a really nice guy as well. Very, very, very approachable. And it's I know that obviously his health had suffered. I think his health was suffering during that final season, and when him and David were at Birmingham. To be fair, I think the sort of the pressures of the job probably tolls on him a little bit. And sadly he's succumbed after quite a lengthy battle against ill health. So it's very, very sad news.
Absolutely. So back to this. So I said in my little diatribe at the front of the show that something needs to change if we're going to have playoffs. Playoffs need to be done on good tracks when the weather's not going to be intervened. Otherwise, it doesn't work, does it? I don't think so.
Well, ultimately, if you're going to have playoffs, you have to have them at the end of the season. It's common sense, isn't it? I know it seems a silly thing to say, but it is common sense.
But the end of the season doesn't have to be October.
Well, I think the last couple of years they have tried, to sort of bring them through a bit earlier, haven't they? I mean, this year they had scheduled for them to start at the beginning of September, and usually you can get quite fortunate in September that you've sort of got the last few, the back end of the summer, if you like. And I think last year they got away with it. To be fair, I think the playoffs were done by the end of September. It's never a good idea to start having big meetings tucked away in October, because you really are at the risk of running into the poor weather. I've seen many playoffs over the years that have looked really, really exciting on paper, but the weather's got involved and it's just ruined it. But
you've had situations. We've had people on this show complaining about that their team have had 3 or 4 weeks without a match during the summer when the weather's been really nice, and that just should not happen, should it?
No, there's got to be a regular run of meetings. You have to do that to keep people coming through the gates, because if you've not got regular fixtures, people then get out of the habit of going.
But also, how can you expect to finish your season? I mean, Birmingham finished in August this year. We would have been prepared for the playoffs in August.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're any better or any worse than anybody else. It's just the way it worked for us. But we didn't have 3 weeks without a match. I think we had one with 2 weeks.
In the season,
but yeah, okay. But that's what needs to be done. It needs to be run. The league needs to be run week in, week out, and then you see where you are. And then if there's a gap, because you want to have it on this particular date, at least you're going to get it at the beginning of September, and then if it's rained off, you've got the whole of September to work and it's going to be better, surely. I just think they just need to get on with the league programme.
Hopefully that's something
straight away.
Hopefully that's something that's on Phil Morris's to-do list. I think it's rather a long list, I think, at the moment, to be fair. So
otherwise, it makes a mockery of there being playoffs, and you should just have whoever wins the. This is my opinion, of course. I understand that playoffs is a big money spinner for you, but you're taking the mickey out of your customers if you're running in weather like it has been. For me, anyway. Dave Twine says the weather's getting worse over the years. Well, I think you probably, if you're living in Tampa at the moment, you're going to agree with that.
We've had one good weather year for weather for Speedway, haven't we? And it was 2020, and of course we had no Speedway.
Speedway, yeah. So, but, you just have to start the season thinking it's going to be rubbish in October. Let's get the season over with. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't have the playoffs. You've got to do one or the other. For me. Right, we've got a few things to talk about. And before we get any further, I need to thank So-Called Studios for sponsoring the programme once again. They've been absolutely invaluable this year.
Yeah, cheers.
They've helped pay for my microphone. which is a bad thing probably.
And Matt's coffee.
Yeah, Matt's coffee. And
Latte, I should point out.
Yeah.
Technical.
Oh, sorry. Latte. That's what the posh people drink, isn't it?
yeah, posh people in the studio.
That's never
So
right.
yeah. We've got Bellevue new champions.
Yeah.
Congratulations! Who's going to be the champions in the championship? Do we think that is
Very much Oxford in the box seat, isn't it? At the moment?
Did anybody here predict Oxford to win by that much?
I think some people predicted Oxford to win, but not necessarily by that level of scoreline. It's but you never write Poole off. You know, how many times over the years have Poole been written off and they've come back and surprised everybody, and they know what to do. And they've got so much experience over the playoffs. But it's going to be a challenge for them to pull it back. And
Yeah.
what a
It's 12 points, is it?
yeah, and what a, as I say,
It's doable.
It's doable.
It
yeah.
is doable.
No,
it's,
it's doable.
it's left the match, I think, in a good position.
Especially as if we expect that the weather's going to intervene again.
Well, there is. Yeah, I mean, if their weather, I don't know what it's like down the bottom end of the country at the moment, but if their weather's anything like this, it ain't going on, is it?
No, that's. But no, I think what an achievement for Oxford. Only the third season back, and they're with the great chance of winning the second tier. That's, and they've had a decent season in the National League, and they've had the Premiership teams done well as well. Only just missed out on the playoffs. So good times at Oxford, and hopefully that'll continue for them.
It'd be a good match to go and watch as a neutral, I think.
It would be, yeah. I mean, Oxford. I think Oxford, of course, have already won at Poole this season as well, haven't they?
They have. So they're not going to be scared of going to Poole.
No, it's not a challenge for them at all. They've got a lot of riders. I mean, Scott Nichols used to ride there. They've got quite a few riders in that team that have ridden at Poole as well, and they've got good decent records there. So, yeah, it's going to be a good night. Hopefully, the weather won't intervene, and it'll the Premiership Championship one will be better than the Premiership one would.
So Rich Thomas, and hi to everybody on the shout box, has just said he just brought a book about Speedway in the Thames Valley in 1981. Swindon had 36 meetings at home, including cups, individual, etc. Good old days, but they didn't have to do playoffs at the end of it, and
no, they didn't.
That is becoming an issue. Yeah, that's reminded me. We should say we're going to be giving out a few prizes tonight as we go on. You'll probably be hearing this sound.
So what was you saying?
That was slick, wasn't it?
This sound.
That's enough.
So yeah, we're going to be giving a few.
So slick, isn't it?
Yeah. Nobody noticed a thing. Mick Scott, and good evening all. It was good to see Leon Flint did good at the weekend at Parderby. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favourite riders. Not had the best season this year at Birmingham.
Tough season, I think. But I think it's been a tough season for quite a few of the Birmingham riders, for the club in general, really.
Yeah. So. So I just want to write something down, but carry on. Well, we've got some more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've gone right.
Yeah. Dave Twine says 15 teams, 28 matches each, no playoffs, no cups, 6 aside, sorted. Rich Thomas says 7 teams or 6 if Birmingham go isn't enough for playoffs. I don't want to say too much about the Birmingham situation at the moment, because we don't really know what's going on. I can't make up my mind whether I should be hopeful from the latest press release or crying in my tea.
Just seems to be. It just does seem to be deja vu, doesn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would say is that they need to be in a position where they're signing riders sooner rather than later. Otherwise, what's the point? We don't want another season.
Well, you get to a stage where the season gets declared late, and then once again other teams are ahead in team building, and then it's getting the leftovers again.
Thank you very much to John Bird, who says he's great work on the show through the season.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Didn't say which show though, did it?
We've done great for all the
Thanks
other
for that.
shows. Is that what? Okay, fair enough. John Bird says, what do you think to next year? Oh, I was just going to come on to this, actually, so that's perfect. What do you think to next year's GP lineup? I think shambles, subject to the picks. We all know it's a farce how to get in there, but God disappeared. The guy who picks riders needs sacking. Absolute rubbish. 2 wild cards for next. Kveč and Hülkenberg were 9th and 10th in the GP Challenge. We all know it's top riders in the world. Really, Emil and Artem should be in the series, but if they already had chosen Kveč and Hülkenberg, why let them ride in the Challenge? I suppose one reason is if they got through, the people that didn't get through would then possibly get looked at for...
One thing I think that does play a part, particularly with Hülkenberg and Kveč, of course, is obviously the German Grand Prix and the Czech Grand Prix. So I suppose they're looking at it from that objective of having a permanent rider in the series. Obviously, the big question was always about whether Safudinov and Lotto were going to get back in. I just didn't see it.
No,
I think they should be back in it, but I just think
politics should not be allowed in sport, but you can't really separate it, and that's what that is. It's politics. And while you've got that situation going on in the Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, they're just not going to be allowed in, are they?
No, but it's disappointing. I mean, there's a maybe there's a little bit of mistake about Lagutta because, of course, he's the only one over the last 5 years that's managed to get the better of Bartosz Marslik. It's worth pointing out he did only beat Marslik by 3 points that season, so it wasn't as if he won it. He completely dominated him. So it sort of adds a little bit to the mistake of would he have been able to go on and win further championships had he stayed in? But his performances in the league have been every bit as good as Marslik's, haven't they, over in Poland? Yeah. So there's no reason why he couldn't have done. But well, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to know, and I think Martin Lagutta is probably going to end up being a one-time world champion. It's let's hope he doesn't. That he does get the chance to show, but time is possibly running out a little bit. I was maybe a little bit surprised that Jason Doyle got a pick purely because obviously Frick and Kurtz have gone in, so I did wonder whether they would pick another Australian. But I guess really for Doyle, he had such a good start to the season, and I think he would have been a contender had he not had his injury. So I suppose that's the reasoning for that. Andrei Lebedov, I think, made a big impression during the season. So obviously he was always going to be in anyway through winning the European Championship. I suppose which is fair enough, really. Yeah. I suppose the big call really outside of that was obviously Leon Madsen not getting back in favour of Anders Thompson. Anders Thompson obviously had a decent run in the Grand Prix 2-3 years ago, but I think ironically he dropped out because of getting injured. But Lagutta, Madsen, I thought sort of didn't have a great season last year. He had that one season where he pushed Smalslik, I think 2019, but he's not got anywhere near that level yet. So I guess freshening it up from that perspective. I think possibly you should be looking at more of a situation. The problem, so it's this conversation we've had before, which is this matter of perception. Yeah. And if there's a vacuum, people will invent things to fill it. And when you've got a situation where somebody or a committee or whatever it is picking riders, saying, we'll give this rider a pick and we'll give this rider a pick, you're in danger then of the perception being the favourites or not choosing the right people or whatever. And then, so perhaps really the best way forward for that would be the top 8 get through in the GP or whatever you decide that number is, and then the rest of them have to fight it off in some sort of World Championship runoff. The early days of the Grand Prix, it was top 3 from the Intercontinental Final, the top 3 from the Continental Final, and then I think the last place was given to the previous season's World Under-21 champion. Right. That for me was a fairer way of doing it, because these riders then earned their place back in the series, and then of course you had the riders that dropped out had the chance to get back in through the JP Challenge, which was always in those days an incredibly tough meet. It was probably the hardest fought meeting of the season because there was only about 2 or 3 places available, and some of those JP Challenge lineups in the early days were as good as a GP itself. So you got some top
because it
riders
has meaning. It had meaning for the riders and for the fans. So I just think, and then it's you get rid of that perception problem of, as we said. Sorry, there's a little bit about... Fred Graham says the owners of SGP's Discovery / Warner would never pick Emil and Laguta due to the impact the news would have on them in the US. So, as you said, political decision. Firstly, I'm not sure Speedway news would have a great deal of impact anywhere except Poland, maybe. Look, it's even more straightforward than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't be the only sport that all of a sudden break cranks. Every other sport's doing exactly the same thing.
Of course.
It'd be a way of putting Speedway in the news, I suppose. But
But of course, the other big news about the GP is that we have one less Polish Grand Prix and one further British GP.
After you and me both saying, "Oh, you can't do one at Manchester."
Yes, I'm expecting.
They must be listening.
I was expecting a few Bellevue fans to be on to give us a bit of stick for that, but I've still got misgivings. I mean, Bellevue, fantastic racetrack. The if you compare Bellevue and Cardiff as racetracks, there's no comparison. Bellevue is a fantastic racetrack. I still got a few little reservations about the logistics of it, but they've got a chance now to sort of prove me wrong. Hopefully they will prove me wrong. What I would say is if you are planning to go to Bellevue for the GPs, I'd recommend sort of getting in for tickets early because it's going to sell out. Because it's not like at Cardiff where you're going to still be able to get tickets the day before because of the size of the stadium. Yeah,
and also because of it being the first one, and it's a bit of a novelty to have a GP. Can we carry 2 GPs in this country, money-wise? Fans going to watch it wise.
I'm interested to see how they're going to do the wild cards for it as well, because obviously at the moment they have the British, the top place non-GP rider in the British Championship going to Cardiff for the wild card. So how are they going to do it for this year? Is it going to be the winner of the British final rides in both the Cardiff GP and the Bellevue GP? I don't know how they're going to do it.
Quite close together from what I saw in the calendar.
Well, the calendar. Let's go through the calendar. So first of all, you start off in Landshut in Germany on the 3rd of May. Then you move to Warsaw on the 17th of May. Then Prague, 31st. Bellevue is the 4th one. That's on the 14th of June. Gorzów, the 21st of June. Melilla, the 5th of July. Riga in Latvia, that's on the 2nd of August. Cardiff is the 16th of August. Wrocław the 30th, and the season ends at Voyens on the 13th. So no Torun Grand Prix, of course, because they've got the Speedway Nations next year. So so that's going to be an interesting one.
So how many rounds is that?
That is 10 rounds.
10 rounds, okay.
Can't say that the idea of the GP finishing in Voyens particularly thrills me. I guess what's in there, of course, is it's a big year for Voyens because it's the 50th anniversary of the stadium, so it's obviously a big deal for them. Obviously, that was
So how many weeks are there between Manchester and Cardiff?
Well, the Manchester GP is on the 14th of June and the 16th of August in Cardiff. So there's 8 weeks between them. So effectively, question as well. Are people going to do both, or are they going to pick one or the other? The Cardiff one is safer, I suppose, because
exactly what I was about to say. I mean, I was just going to ask you that question. Given the choice, if you could only go to one, which one would you go to?
I've got to say it would still be Cardiff,
because of the fact that you're going to see a Speedway.
Well, because of the event as well. Cardiff obviously is right in the middle of the city centre. You got everything that's around it. You got the bars, the restaurants, all the stuff there. Bellevue, you walk out there and there's not really anything there really apart from houses. I know obviously it's a relatively short ride into the city on the buses. Obviously me and my dad are going to look to go to Bellevue, but we were discussing it and we were saying probably the best option is to go on the train really. I'd look at some of the hotel prices, and I think they've obviously had a tip off that there's going to be a GP that weekend. Looking at some of the prices.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I don't know, because I've never been to Bellevue still, I know it's disgusting.
You'll have to pick, maybe your debut Grand Prix for this one. Yeah?
Maybe, except the Cardiff one's round about my birthday, so if anybody wants to buy me tickets. That's
OAP, pretty cheap.
What's the parking like at Bellevue?
Well, that's another thing, because they're going to lose. I mean, if they do what they did for the World Cup in 2016 and for the Speedway Nations last year, they'll have a temporary standing on the last bend, which takes a lot of car parking space away.
Right.
So that's another thing. There's a lot of logistics that are going to be put in place. Hopefully, they've got a great chance to sort of prove that they can stage a GP. Obviously, there's a wonder as well if it's successful whether that might sort of usher the end of the Cardiff GP. I think
because that's coming up to the end of it.
I think the deal at the moment. I think it's got one more year. There's a lot of people who would argue that the Cardiff GP has sort of lost its sparkle a little bit in recent years. I think last year, although the racing itself was actually pretty good, I think there was the sort of the events around it there with all the pre-meeting stuff. I thought that was sort of didn't seem to be that much investment into that, to be fair, which has been disappointing because but Cardiff for me, I still get as much enjoyment out of going to Cardiff as I did for the first one. A lot of people, I suppose I did see somebody on the forum on the BSF actually say that maybe the better option would have been to move it to another major venue in the UK, not at Cardiff, maybe to sort of get that sort of
same sort of
maybe something a little bit different, if you like. But
where would that be then?
Difficult to say. But
there you go. Yeah.
I mean, I think the dream one obviously would be Wembley, but I think there's you've got Bob hope and no hope of getting Wembley back. I think so. Speedway.
Mind you, they need the money.
They do need the money, apparently. Fred Graham, this is interesting to see one of the substitutes, as they call them now, is the young Ukrainian Nazar Parnitschke. Reckon they will try and push him into a SGP somewhere due to the publicity it will give them. Also, wouldn't surprise me to see somebody going, we might sign him.
Possibly.
Are you listening, Lawrence? Ben Creswell says, I guess they could do a park and ride system maybe at Bellevue. Don't know, never been, but I'm hopeful going by coach from Suffolk. Hopefully going by coach from Suffolk. I mean, I think there's a few. I think that's probably the best way to go in a coach run by your club with fellow supporters from your club going. That's a bit of a jolly then, isn't it? Yeah. But
pressure on Bellevue as well, because everybody's saying they've got to have a Grand Prix because it's great racing. They've got to make sure they produce a great racetrack for there. Hopefully when they get there, they'll allow the normal staff to do the track. Certainly don't want Ollie Olsen getting on there and making it slick as a board.
No.
So.
Well, again, we shall see. It's interesting, and good luck to them. I don't want to start hoping they'll fail before they get a chance.
Nobody wants them to fail. Yeah. As I said, I think Bellevue is a fantastic racetrack, and from the racing perspective, I think it's fantastic that they've got a JP, but they've got to make sure that they get everything else right as well.
Ben Cresswell says, could the O2 in London be big enough for us SGP when the stage is out and seats all around? I have no idea. I've never been to the O2 in London, so...
the O2 Arena?
I presume that's what he means, yeah.
That wouldn't be big enough.
Tottenham Stadium would be a good option, seeing how they deal with NFL games and would not ruin the football pitch as it is lowered and not used in NFL matches.
That would mean a trophy appearing in the Tottenham Stadium, though, wouldn't it? So, not something they're very good at. So.
Wow. I'm not getting involved in that one. They did a park and ride for the World Cup, as Bellevue is partly funded by Manchester City Council and the Etihad campus. It's close. I'm sorry. There's too many.
And the Etihad campus, Manchester City. They'll run a park and ride from Manchester City ground. Okay. It's close football season, so we'll work well.
Okay, so there are possibilities in there.
Well, they will have known. They'll have known for a few weeks before the official announcement was made. So I would imagine they'll have been planning already, and not just Bellevue, but I would imagine the City Council as well. Manchester City Council, I think it would be a big deal for them to have something like this in the city as well. So they'll certainly may well put some sort of investment into it as well. And obviously, again, we all know the situation with Bellevue. Of course, they had the first season there, and they had so many problems with the finances. And I think at some point or another, that stadium was going to have to start paying for itself because it was a big investment into it. So,
yep, there's Speedway's age-old problem. Right there. So, have we had any nominations come through yet? Because we're all here on.
You mean? Have I got the list?
Yes.
Yeah. I have got the list.
Okay.
So, do you want me to start from the top?
You start wherever you think, mister.
Okie dokie. This year's nomination goes like this. Nominations for Time It Takes to Fix an Airbag.
Time it takes to fix an airbag.
And the winner is...
I have the letter here.
Like Mr. Trackstaff himself here, do it, sir.
And the winner is... Nigel Tully.
Wow. Well done, Nigel.
Who can apparently inflate an airbag just by talking at it. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Tully is not able to come into the studio today.
No.
But he did ask me to read this message out.
Couldn't you find a hat for it?
He could. That you've just taken his speech away now. So he asked me to read this out. The badges are really good. Thank you very much. There we go.
And our next nomination.
Oh, we're going to go through them all. Okay,
I'll tell you what, let's do 4 or 5.
Okay.
And this year's nomination for Flag Marshal of the Year.
Flag Marshal of the Year
goes to...
It's me!
Definitely.
Flag Marshal of the Year. Unfortunately, I couldn't... Oh, no, I'm here, sorry. In accepting this, I would just like to say...
Dingle will be banging on the door in a minute.
I'd just like to say, ha, Dingle, and we'll leave it at that.
Did he do any work there, Dingle? I didn't realise he did any work there.
Apparently.
Okay, let's do another one and we'll have a bit of a break, okay? And this year's nomination for Best Guest goes to... Get your notes, go on. It wasn't like this in rehearsal.
Chris Webby Browne. Guesting on the Speedway Tavern show every day.
Yeah. Every
would
year.
Would you like to give us an acceptance speech?
It's been an honour to work with 2 absolute
clowns,
idiots for the last God knows how many years. But thank you very much.
Okay, are we going to do one more, or are we leaving
We'll do one more
now?
Okay then. And this year's
this is terrible.
nomination for Worst Guest of the Year goes to...
It's me!
Yeah!
Oh, it's me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm walking out.
Good. Right, let's get rid of him then. Let's go on with the show.
We got a few more. I'm sorry about this. Barry Young says a Bradford one-off. I think there'd be too much work to do to get Bradford ready.
There's been lots of talk about Bradford because obviously the stock guys are back in there now. Bradford's big enough, I think, to stage your GP. They've just got to find the promoter.
Pete Clark says, "Would be nice to see some ticket prices." I guess he's talking about Bellevue GP there. Somebody said, because I can't see. There we go. Craig Smee said, "Sorry, joined late. Have we touched on the Birmingham announcement yet? Presuming you have. So how do you feel this will pan out? One final season and that's it, or are they looking for something more sustainable, long term, i.e. a new venue with Wolves looking for a venue, and even going back to Craigley, it doesn't look too good." I can only tell you what I know about that, which isn't a lot. I know that they are looking and have been looking for something more sustainable. And I know there have been some possibilities sounded out. I don't know anything more than that. we don't really know whether we're going to get this one final season at this point on the announcement. My guess is we will, but I just hope they start signing riders early enough to make it worthwhile. Other than that, I don't really want to say too much about it. I'm like the rest of you. I'm going to have to wait and see.
Just sit and wait there with fingers crossed. You know, obviously, we don't want a situation where 2025 there's no speedway in the West Midlands. That would be criminal.
David Albrighton says get some covers just in case it rains.
There's a problem with the problem with covers. It might save the meeting, but it's going to decimate the crowd if you know.
Well, yeah.
And the thing is, as well, you've got to get volunteers. They're not light, are they? The covers
it's volunteers, and that's a big old track.
Yeah,
that's a big old track to cover. I've had experience of doing that, and it takes a long time, and it doesn't always work because it sweats underneath.
Yeah.
So, as much as I'd love to say covers is an answer, I don't think it actually is.
Can you imagine even if you got the slightest hole in that cover as well? I suppose that's
if you get a slightest hole in the cover, you've got a damp patch, and that did happen when we tried
the
it.
The only other possibility probably would be after sort of covers that they have on the pitches at the cricket.
Yeah, they need to be raised. Yeah,
so
like the brumbrellas though.
Yeah,
but you need a lot of brumbrellas, and then where do you keep them?
Yeah, that's the problem.
In the brumbrella cupboard.
Yeah, I hate to be negative about that because it'd be great to think there was an answer. The answer isn't putting a roof on Bellevue, as somebody suggested earlier, unless you want to pay for it.
It's a big roof.
Yeah. A lot of money involved in that. Okay. I suppose we also go on to our
Prediction
League a little bit. Well,
yeah. Do you want to have a look at the table? Okay, then.
Because we have a winner, don't we? You can use your theme music.
Of course, yeah, I can do. Yeah. I'm going to try and find a table first. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I've got a top and bottom version on this one, I think, this time. So
a top and bottom version. Okay, that sounds really rude.
Okay, so it looks like our winner, again, is Mr. Simon Corbett. Well done, Simon.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Just needs, you don't need his address, do you, for his...
No. That's right, I'm moving in.
I think it's the closest we've had. It's a bit like Schmarzlik. He's won, but not entirely convincing. He started off really badly, didn't he?
He's led most of it, to be fair. So.
Yeah. Elliot Young was only 6 points behind, followed by Rich Thomas on 181, John Bird on 180, Dave Twine on 176, Philip Gray on 176. Sorry, Dave Twine was 178. Gordon Gamble 176, and then we got a lot of has-beens, basically. Oh, Matt Bucks there, yeah.
So we have to sound the music again.
Yes. Okay.
For. Oh, he's not listening, is he? We have to sound
listening.
the music again, please.
Okay.
And the top presenter in the Premier League
Speedway Tavern Prediction League.
Thank you very much.
Good job. It's the end of the season, isn't it? So.
Mr. Matt Buck.
Yep.
Again, we're going to kill him.
And who finishes the lowest one? Who gets the booby prize?
Yeah. Moving on.
Yes.
Well, that's a first
I'm
time
not
for
feeling
a long
proud
time.
that I beat him by 3 points. He knows absolutely nothing about Speedway.
I know. I don't even know that much. It was a good season. That was a good season. So as you say, like probably the closest one, wasn't it?
Yep, I think so. What does our friend get?
He gets a mug and a T-shirt.
A mug and a T-shirt.
He's got to find room for them first. He's got to have to move all the other ones.
All the other ones, yeah.
In fact, I've already printed it out. So.
You printed it out in March, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
He should, Simon, you should actually send us a picture of all your mugs side by side.
Don't encourage him, please.
Yeah.
Pete Clark, 23rd.
I will take that. You've got no choice. Okay, let's have a look. There's a few...
I don't think people are taking it seriously. I really don't.
No. Ticket prices for the Grand Prix, I reckon, will be priced more reasonable than the Speedway of Nations.
I certainly hope so.
They have to be, don't they? Because they're up against Cardiff, who are priced fairly reasonable, I think.
Yeah, Cardiff's reasonable for the size of the stadium. So.
As Bellevue was hosting a week-long event, I felt they got the pricing wrong, but had to cover the big expense of staging a week-long event. As the GP is a one-day event, I reckon the pricing structure will be more reasonable. Is it a one-day event these days? Don't they do the SGP2 and all of that? Isn't that?
I don't know whether Bellevue will have an
Okay.
Cardiff Cardiff has not had one for the last couple of years.
Okay. I reckon that's disappeared.
Okay.
I reckon the pricing structure would be more reasonable. I would expect the GP to cost around about 40 to 50 for an adult ticket, which I think is about standard for a large event in a major city in the UK. And Simon Corbett says he needs a sweatshirt with four-time winner in years green with black collar.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put the stars underneath it, like in the Euros.
Yeah, why not?
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, he's getting a bit big for his boots,
He is,
right?
yeah.
We have to start the planning now for next year.
Yeah, how are we going to get rid of
how
him?
we going? Yeah.
How are we going to fix it so somebody else
I
wins?
think we should start a handicaps a system whereby he has to use the scores that I give.
Well, because he's won it 4 times, maybe dock the first 4 points off him or something. We'll make something up.
He'd have still won.
He would, yeah.
He would have still won this year.
4 weeks then.
Whose phone's that?
Who else?
I could have
Oh,
It's quite late though. 2042. So
yeah. Are we going to do a prediction this week for
tomorrow?
Yeah. Just
I'm
there's only,
Well,
one,
just-
there's,
just-
well, there's only the one meeting, and it's not going to affect anything.
Oh,
so,
right, okay.
So
That's not
Well,
bad.
let's just do it anyway for fun.
yeah, why
Okay,
not?
let's do it for fun. Okay.
So,
We can call it the playoff.
and Matt to go first
Means nothing.
because I don't want to. So,
I'll go for Pool by 10.
okay.
Pull by 12.
See, I'm going to say pool by 12 as well, and that would be the perfect result, of course, because that puts it equal, and they would have to have a race-off, golden heat, whatever you want
Never
to
had
call
to
it.
have one of them in a playoff before,
No,
either in any of the leagues. So
that would be something else, wouldn't it? I just hope it's whenever the matches run. And as I say, I don't know what the weather is down south at the moment,
yeah,
but there is lots of bad weather heading our way, as we know.
yeah.
Pete Clark says, hope it fits. He may have put on weight. He certainly has round his head.
No, he won't have. He's a stripper. He's quite good.
Craig Smith says, can we just get Simon to start his predictions after week 5 of
That's
the
what I was saying.
season?
Yeah.
It's not a bad
You get
call,
the
is it?
impression you're not very popular here. So
Or someone go round and cut his broadband off. Yeah,
I wondered where you was going with that for a second.
cut his broadband off, yeah.
I really wondered where you was going with that. Are there any more nominations
We've got
coming
loads. We finished the meetings, have we?
that was the only
Yes,
one.
that
yeah.
was it. There is just the one more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't what it was. Okay.
Simon's gone Pool by 16. You've won it, Simon. You're on to fret about it.
Yeah.
Right then, and the next nomination is for the most miserable person on the BSF, and the winner is
Matt,
I don't post on there.
that's why you're so miserable.
I'll just read it and just laugh.
And let's go for the next nomination. And the next nomination is for the supporter of the year. And the nomination is...
There's a lot of nominations in this envelope.
Okay, I'll put nominations. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
a sensible one.
Okay.
Elliot.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Elliot.
Got it.
I mean, Elliot unfortunately couldn't be here this week.
Yeah.
But just on his behalf, the guy travels up and down the country watching match after match after match.
Can't be far off 100 meetings he's done this year.
He's at the supporters club, helping run the supporters club at Birmingham. He's there selling tickets and everything, all putting all the money together for that every home match. Not only that, he then, when he's finished doing that, he comes down to the track and helps us move tyres, move sheets, move anything that needs moving. And on top of that, he's there most weekends as well, helping out. So
If Speedway had more fans like him, I think it would be in a much better place.
I reckon he likes the sport. I do.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah.
I really do.
Shall we go for one more nomination?
Here we go. And this year's nomination for Comeback of the Year goes to...
I'm having to think quite quickly as I open this envelope. Freddie Lindgren.
Of
I
course.
thought you were going to say somebody else then.
Who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Zach Cook.
Well, yeah, I did. Actually, when I said Freddie Lindgren, it says here Zach Cook, but we'll say Zach Lindgren.
All right.
There we go. Zach Lindgren couldn't be here today,
No, that's a shame, isn't it?
and that's all I'm going to say on that.
We've got 4 more awards. But do you want to go? Should we zip through them or we'll save them?
Well, I would like somebody out in the ether there to give us a category, and we'll come up with a winner for that as well. But I think we go to the very last one on your list.
Oh, right then, okay. And this year's Magician of the Year
That
award
wasn't what I thought was the last one.
goes to...
Magician of the Year goes to Brady Kurtz.
The disappearing trick.
The disappearing trick. He falls off his bike and disappears under the fence, and nobody can see him, and nobody knew where he was.
And then suddenly he appears again.
He couldn't be here today because nobody could find him. There we go.
Do you want me to do the other one that you thought I was going to do but I didn't do and you wanted me to do?
Rich Thomas says Elliot needs to get a life. That was a bit harsh.
Just a tad.
And Pete Clark says we have also shown Elliot how to use a jet wash. I'm going nowhere near that place.
The way he's
that.
phrased that... No, I'm not going to say. Okay.
So the one I thought was at the bottom, not the
Yes, I
category
know, I know.
was the
next one up, okay.
So, yeah, the next
and
one
this year's Most Disappointing Rider Award goes to...
In a complete surprise, the award for the most disappointing rider of the year goes to Peter Pawlicki. In a turn up for the books, Peter Pawlicki is here today. And, oh, hold on, I'm hearing something. Apparently he's just caught the Polish flu. Who would have guessed?
Them polls.
Who would have guessed? Them polls. Right.
Let's be serious. Your rider of the year this year.
My rider of the year, total rider of the year? Robert Lambert. Robert Lambert. I just come in second, winning his first GP as well. I go with Robert Lambert. Yeah,
I'm going to go with Brady Kurtz. I think he's had a phenomenal season and he's finished up in style by qualifying for next year's GP. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's back at Bellevue next year. So
he's done well at Bellevue this year, hasn't he?
He's so dialed in around that place, isn't he? But he's really has come on leaps and bounds. He's made steady progress over the last couple of years, but he's sort of taken it up another notch.
Yeah, I think when we saw Bellevue's team this year, we both were slightly underwhelmed by it. Didn't think it was as good as previous teams, but I think he's been the difference.
Yeah.
He's
made that step up into a genuine. I mean, he was number one for a period of time, wasn't he? He's obviously supported that with Dan Bealey for the number one race jacket at Bellevue. So, as Craig Smith said, he's been unbelievable this year, riding most of the season injured. And as I say, got a great reward at the end of it because he gets to have a go at next year's Grand Prix. So,
excellent. There you go. We should go with Rider of the Week as well. We normally do and get people's nominations for the Rider of the Week.
Yeah.
Could do.
I'm going to go with Dan Bewley.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. He was phenomenal in the place, wasn't he? Admittedly, he didn't have that much to beat, but
you still have to beat him, and he was unbeaten over 2 legs.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happened
especially
before.
in the second leg at a track that he doesn't normally ride very well.
Actually, I'll just show you that. Actually, looking at my notes, which my granddaughter has scribbled all over, I think you'll find that Dan Bewley got the most votes this season.
Brady was asked, this is interesting, Jeff Daniels said Brady was asked in an interview after the grand final, will you be here next season? He said, I will be nowhere else. So there we go. Who do we think the best rising star or under 24 rider has been this season?
Well, I would have said at the start of the season it probably would be Leon Flint, but I think he's underwhelmed this season
unfortunately,
for large periods of time. I'm going to say Ashton Boven. I think he's...
I would say, I agree with you. Yeah, I would go with that as well.
With an honorary mention, he's not a rising star yet because he's not old enough to ride in the top league, but William Cairns. We should say best wishes to him, of course.
I was just going to say that,
had a big off at the
Big
weekend,
off,
so... but Ashton Boven, I mean, I was really impressed with him when I saw him race in the British Youth Championship at Perry Bar last year.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised actually that he was fast tracked into the riding in the top league, but he certainly hasn't looked out of place.
No,
in
at
that
all.
league at all.
I remember when they came to Birmingham and we saw him there, and we thought, "Oh, Leon Flint should be okay here, surely."
Yeah.
And,
Nowhere near him.
No.
Nor Shirley.
There we go. Phil Taylor says Dan Thompson's the best rising star. He's had a great season
He's had
as
a very
well.
good season, yeah.
Fred Graham says shout out to young William Carnes to get fit soon after a bad crash in the under-19 final on Sunday. Was turning out to be a really good meeting with a great finish, but weather, surprise, intervened. It's always the story of the end of the year, isn't it?
Just a bit, yeah.
It seems to be.
I think we need to thank everybody who's tuned in as well this season. For
It's been great.
20 odd shows, 23 shows I think we've done, something like that. Yeah. Some 113,000 views, so pretty impressive.
I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Come a long way since the initial 11, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
The initial 11.
and continually in top charts in Apple and Spotify. So yeah,
So thank you.
It's been a good season.
Yeah, thank you everybody for that. I guess that means that we're coming up to saying bye-bye
We certainly are.
to everybody. It's been a strange old season this year, more so for you than it has been for me.
I was going to say this actually, as I say, it has been a bit of a surreal season for me, sort of sitting on the sidelines with no team to support this year. I'd like first and foremost, I obviously want to thank Steve Rolliston, who obviously you know from Perry Bar, of course, who very kindly invited me to join the hospitality team at Perry Bar, and I've enjoyed doing that, and I've made a lot of good friends with that. And also want to thank you guys out there and you, Per, as well, for keeping me company on Tuesdays. And
I'll pay you later.
Had it not been for those, I may have walked away from it this year from Speedway, but it's kept me.
What would you do?
Don't know, to be honest. That's the problem. So,
Exactly.
But no, I want to thank everybody. It's been great. So,
For me, the season's been strange because I started the season full of what turned out to be false hope. I thought it didn't look that bad as a team to me. I didn't realise what our number one was going to turn out like for whatever reason. But there has been some great moments. Watching Tom Brennan develop has been a privilege this year. Really enjoyed that.
There has been some good racing at Birmingham this season, not as much as we would have liked, and there's been a lot of meetings that have been quite poor. But I think on nights where the track's been good, I think the racing
and it is good to see that the track has got better. I mean, from 2 seasons ago, it's steadily getting better. Hopefully they do a bit more of that, but desperately. I mean, Simon Corbett says, "Who would you sign for Browne?" My answer to that at the moment is a rider. At this point in time, a rider. I would love to see that commitment. Obviously, Tom Brennan is got to come back, hasn't he?
Yes, but I think Ipswich might be having a look at him as well.
I think a few people
did very well for them in the playoffs, didn't he? So.
I think a few people will be having a look at him. But
yeah, and I guess a lot of it's going to depend on how long it takes for Birmingham to be in a position where they can declare they're running. If it's too long, then he might have to look elsewhere. I think he would like to be back at Birmingham from what I gather, because I think he's fitted in well, and I think moving away from Bellevue has actually helped him push on. So
no disparagement to Bellevue, but it's a particular type of track, isn't it? Yeah. And so you need, particularly in this country, to be able to. The other thing that's been interesting for me this year is the rise of riders that ride in this country in the GPs. So how Freddie came back and all of a sudden started doing better. Dan Bewley, really on it now.
Fourth in the championship last year. Best season he's had. Two Brits in the top 4 of the world championship. It's been a long time. Many years, isn't it? So since we've had. It's got to be over 40 years, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, I would say so. You're talking about the Collins sort of era.
And, Michael Lee and Dave Jessup 1 and 2 in 1980. That's probably the last time we've had 2 in the top 4.
So that's been really good to see. Craig, we should talk about the AGM actually coming up. Let's hope the AGM doesn't make wholesale changes. What I would like to come out of the AGM is a push for clubs to collectively promote the sport much, much better than this season. Some clubs' social media presence has been awful and needs a bigger push on promotion of the sport, I feel. The fans can't be expected to do it all for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I
think the social media aspect has improved, but I think there's still a long way to go on it.
Fred Graham says, agree Dan Thompson as top rising star. Well done, guys, and let's hope all tracks are back racing in 2025. Maybe some good news with another couple coming back to the sport.
That's what we want.
And that's a nice positive note to finish on. Good luck tomorrow to
Oxford
and Paul. May the best team win. May the weather not win.
Yeah.
We will see you all probably for an AGM or a Christmas special, whichever comes first. In the meantime, let me be the first to say have a great Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hey, next time you see me, I'll be married. See you soon.
Good night.
So, Harvey.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your city.